The day my son refused to buy my $18 heart pills was the day I learned how quickly love can become conditional. I was 72 years old, living alone in the small house. My late husband and I had spent 38 years paying for her. It wasn't a fancy place. The paint around the windows was fading, the porch steps creaked, and the kitchen cabinets had survived more repairs than I could count. But it was home. Every corner carried a memory. My husband laughing while fixing the sink, my son running through the hallway after school, and the family dinners we once believed would last forever. After my husband passed away, my son, Daniel, became the closest family I had left. I had raised him with everything I had. I worked double shifts at a grocery store, skipped meals when money was tight, and saved every extra dollar so he could attend college. When he got married, I gave him the small amount I had kept for my retirement. I told him I didn't need much. Seeing him happy was enough. For years, Daniel promised he would always take care of me. Then life became expensive and promises became inconvenient. My heart condition required me to take medication every day. The pills weren't rare or difficult to find. They cost only $18 for a month's supply. But that month, my pension payment was delayed because of a banking error. I had enough food in the refrigerator, but not enough cash for my medication. I called Daniel on a Tuesday morning. "Hi, sweetheart," I said when he answered. I hate asking, but my heart pills are ready at the pharmacy. They're $18. Could you pick them up for me after work? There was silence. Then I heard his wife, Melissa, speaking in the background. "Tell her we're busy," she said. Daniel lowered his voice. "Mom, I've got a lot going on right now." "I understand," I replied. "You don't even have to pay if you don't want to. I can give you the money when my pension arrives. I just need someone to pick them up." He sighed. "Mom, you always wait until the last minute." My hands tightened around the phone. I didn't know my payment would be delayed. "Well, I can't keep solving every problem you have." His words hurt, but I tried not to show it. "It's only 18, Daniel." I said, "I'm busy. Maybe ask one of your neighbors." Then he ended the call. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, staring at the old family photograph hanging on the wall. Daniel was 8 years old in that picture. He had a missing front tooth and a smile so wide that his cheeks looked too big for his face. I remember the winter when he was 12 and became seriously ill. I had no money for his medicine. I sold my wedding necklace, the only valuable thing my husband had ever given me. I never told Daniel because I didn't want him to feel guilty. But now, years later, my son couldn't spare 18 or 15 minutes to help me get medication for my heart. The next morning I called the pharmacy and explained that I would come as soon as I could. But the nearest pharmacy was almost 4 miles away and I no longer drove. After my doctor warned me about sudden dizziness, I decided to walk. The weather was cold and each step felt heavier than the last. I made it only halfway before my chest tightened. I sat on a bus stop bench and waited until the pain eased. For the first time, I wondered whether Daniel would even notice if something happened to me. When I returned home, I found a message from him. "Sorry about earlier, things are stressful. I'll call later." He never called. That evening, I ate a bowl of soup and went to bed early. I tried not to cry because I didn't want to feel sorry for myself. Parents are supposed to understand their children. That was what I had always believed. But understanding someone doesn't mean accepting every way they hurt you. The next morning, someone knocked on my front door. I expected it to be the mail carrier. Instead, I found an older man standing on the porch. He wore a dark coat and held a small paper bag. For a moment, I didn't recognize him. Then he smiled. "Mrs. Carter?" he asked. "Yes. My name is Robert. I'm Melissa's father." I had met him only twice, once at Daniel's wedding and once at a family dinner years earlier. He lived in another city and rarely visited. "What are you doing here?" I asked. He looked uncomfortable. "May I come inside?" I stepped aside. Robert entered the kitchen and placed the paper bag on the table. Inside were my heart pills. I stared at them. "How did you know?" He pulled out a chair and sat down. "Melissa called me yesterday. She was angry because Daniel said you were asking him for money again. She told me you needed medication and that it cost 18. I looked down. She made it sound like I was a burden. Robert's expression changed. She did. The room became quiet. Then he reached into his coat and placed an envelope beside the medicine. What is this? I asked. Open it. Inside was a check. The amount was $25,000. I nearly dropped it. Robert, I can't accept this. Yes, you can. No, this is far too much. He looked toward the old family photograph. Do you know why I brought it? I shook my head. My wife passed away 6 months ago. Before she died, she told me something I can't forget. She said, never measure a person's worth by how useful they are to you. His eyes filled with sadness. I thought about that when Melissa told me about your medication, and that's all you needed. And your son treated you like you were asking him to sacrifice everything. I didn't know what to say. Robert continued. I asked Melissa why Daniel wouldn't help. She said they had just spent nearly $2,000 on a weekend trip. They bought new furniture last month. Daniel recently upgraded his phone. My face became hot with embarrassment. I don't want their money, I whispered. This isn't about money, Robert said. It's about dignity. He explained that the check came from a small account he and his wife had created for charitable causes. After his wife died, he wanted to use part of it to help someone who truly needed kindness. But why me, I asked. Because you raised my son-in-law, because you gave your life to your family, and because no elderly mother should have to walk miles without heart medication while her son spends money on things he doesn't need. I cried then, not because of the check. I cried because someone had finally seen me. Before leaving, Robert gave me his phone number. If you need anything, he said, call me, not because you owe me anything. Call because people should look after one another. 3 days later, Daniel came to my house. He walked inside without knocking, just as he had done when he was young. Mom, why didn't you tell me? Melissa's father came here. I looked at him calmly. You never asked how I was. He told Melissa about the check. So, Mom. That's $25,000, yes. You accepted it. He brought my medication. Daniel rubbed his forehead. This is embarrassing. He thinks I don't take care of you. I stared at him. Do you? He didn't answer. I continued. When was the last time you visited without needing something? Mom, that's not fair. When was the last time you called just to ask whether I was okay? He looked away. I stood slowly and walked to the kitchen counter. I picked up the pharmacy receipt. 18, I said. That was all I asked for. I didn't ask for a vacation. I didn't ask for a car. I didn't ask you to pay my bills. I asked for medication that keeps my heart working. Daniel's face turned pale. I said I was sorry. No, you sent a message saying you were stressed. That isn't an apology. He sat down for several minutes. Neither of us spoke. Then he said, I didn't realize it was that serious. That's the problem, I replied. You didn't try to realize. He began to cry. I wanted to comfort him. Every part of me still saw the little boy with the missing front tooth, but I had spent too many years making excuses for him. Mom, please forgive me. I forgive you, I said. But forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. He nodded. I'll do better then. Don't promise, show me. Over the next few months, Daniel started visiting every Sunday. At first, the conversations were awkward. He brought groceries, repaired the broken porch railing, and drove me to my medical appointments. But I made one thing clear. I don't want you helping me because you feel guilty. I told him I want you to remember that I'm your mother. Not a problem waiting to happen. He promised he understood. I used part of Robert's money to pay off the remaining balance on my home. I placed another portion into savings for future medical expenses. The rest I donated to a local organization that helped elderly people afford medication. When Robert heard what I had done, he smiled. It sounds exactly like my wife. He said a year later, Daniel invited Robert and me to dinner. During the meal, Daniel stood and raised his glass. I want to thank 2 people. He said, my mother for loving me even when I didn't deserve it. and Robert for showing me what I should have understood without being taught. Everyone became quiet. Daniel looked at me. I thought being busy gave me the right to ignore people. I thought money was more important because I was always chasing the next thing. But I almost lost the person who gave me everything. Over $18, my eyes filled with tears. Then he reached across the table and held my hand. "I'm sorry, Mom." This time I believed him years later. I still keep the pharmacy receipt in a small box beside my bed. Not because I want to remember the pain. I keep it because it reminds me that people reveal their priorities through small choices. Sometimes love isn't proven by expensive gifts or beautiful words. Sometimes love is simply answering the phone, driving to the pharmacy, or spending $18 when someone needs help. And sometimes, when the people you sacrificed everything for forget your value, kindness arrives from the most unexpected door. The day my son refused to buy my heart pills, I believed I had been abandoned. But then his father-in-law knocked on my door. He didn't just bring medicine. He brought back something. I had almost lost the belief that I still mattered.